There are a grand total of 5 numbers that define the Obama presidency. 2/3, 2, 12, 32, and 100. The president has killed 2/3 of Al-Qaeda's top leadership using his courageous and innovative foreign policy, including but not limited to drone strikes. The president has appointed 2 very, very competent Supreme Court justices to the highest court in the land, and I'm sure that they're going to be dedicated to expanding and protecting our rights as students, and for some of us here, our rights as women. The president has overseen gross domestic product growth of 12% over the last 4 years. The president's health care bill will expand coverage to 32 million people as soon as it comes into full effect after 2014. It is the largest expansion of private health care ever seen in American history, and the first piece of health care legislation that's been entirely major in this country's entire history. And lastly, and I think most importantly, 100. 100% of our nation's troops are out of Iraq, and I think that is an important milestone that we must document. We in the Democratic Party believe that it was not a war to fight, and we're glad that our president fulfilled his promise and got our troops out of there. Now, there's a long road ahead in the next 4 years, and there are many things at stake. Amongst them, our budget deficit, our tax rates, and I think something that should affect us all, but we don't talk about it that much, our Supreme Court. If Mitt Romney gets into office, and again, this is important to say, he will appoint judges farther to the right than any Republican president could have ever imagined. His legal advisor was rejected, actually, by the Senate, was not confirmed because, in fact, he was too far right for even the Reagan administration and the Senate then. That's what a Romney presidency means for us all here. It also means a tax plan that, frankly, does raise taxes on the middle class. It means 67 million people losing their health care coverage through cuts to Medicaid and a repeal of the president's health care reform. And it's going to mean a more aggressive and a more interventionist and a more costly foreign policy that goes contrary to our current principles of diplomacy and peace. And with that, I yield back the rest of my time.
Thank you. Can we get the timer? I don't want to time these opening statements, but could you get ready for when we...
Go on, Yeagan.
2 minutes for responses. Claire, would you like to start your opening statement?
Yes. The real issue of this election boils down to the role of government and its role in our country. I think that in Obama's last 2 years, we've seen a decrease in the number of jobs available in this country, as well as the economy not improving as much as we'd like it to. And with Romney's administration, we're hoping for an emphasis on small businesses to help the middle class so that we can bring jobs back to the Americans and the American people. This will help our economy and further our position in the world so that we can be competitive with other nations and continue to engage in foreign policy and support liberty throughout the nation. I'm done.
All right, thank you. I don't have, out of the box club, we don't have a strict format here, but I'd like to bounce back between both of these sets of questions. Right now, I wanted to particularly start with this question because I feel like a major theme in this campaign is just the negativity, and I despise it, but I want both of you, and Claire, because you were second in your opening statement, you may start. I want both of you to say one good thing about the opposing party's candidates.
2 minutes. How long do we have on each one of these?
For out of the box, you have a maximum of 2 minutes, but you don't have to say 2 minutes. And same goes for the rest of the questions. So,
Obama is definitely a very eloquent speaker. Other than that, he does very well, whether he's in front of a large crowd or a small crowd. He's able to connect with his audience. He knows them well and is able to make a connection to them on an emotional level and inspire hope, which I believe is why he had such a positive reaction in the first election. His ability to be charismatic and inspire confidence has really given him an edge in the first election and has inspired people to continue to trust him in spite of some of the lack of follow-up on his promises.
all right. Zach.
I think that Mitt Romney is a good family man. He has 5 sons whom I think he raised to be successful entrepreneurial men. and I think he should really be proud of his family.
Great. Our first question, this is domestic policy that has been discussed in this campaign a lot. Our relations with Iran are a crucial aspect to our general foreign policy. According to an article in Aviation Weekly, Iran is starting to bolster their defenses specifically against drone strikes and their nuclear program, however close it may be to complete, is not coming to a halt. Before actually deciding on how we should handle the situation, where do you think the United States should stand with Iran, and do you think that they pose a significant threat at this point?
Well, our intelligence indicates that Iran is at least 1 year away from being at 80% enriching uranium at 80%, which is the concentration that you need to actually make a weapon. And then on top of that, they're about 2 to 3 years away from actually creating a deliverable weapon system to actually have a working nuclear bomb. I think that the current course that we're on, sanctions, more sanctions, has been absolutely successful. You've seen currency riots in Iran because nobody wants to take their currency. You've seen the entire international community shun Iran, something that was unfeasible 4 years ago. You've seen Mahmoud Ahmadinejad go on his state television and actually tell his people that the United States and their allies are choking their oil exports. Oil exports from Iran are actually down about 1 million barrels per day. So I think that sanctions have been working. We've also set up an international monitoring system so that if they get to a higher enriched uranium, that we're going to be able to contain it immediately. And that means nuclear strike, military strike or whatever. But we haven't gotten there yet, and I think that the current course that we're on is working well.
Claire?
I don't feel. Can we call someone else up? Are we planning on saying them? We were hoping to switch
yeah,
off
that's-
this question.
yeah.
Is that all right?
If you do want to switch off, that's fine, I suppose. You may call.
Who wants to do
Come up for Afghanistan. And then I'll come up on the
You guys are not allowed to use
That's fine, that's fine.
Oh, no. Okay, well, just to take it from there, I think that what you said about an international effort to monitor them, that's not really a successful course because the international efforts have been stymied. They're not really giving us everything, or they're not showing us everything that they need to. In addition to that, sanctions are only useful when they're actually stopping. There's no evidence that they're stopping. In fact, Iran frequently repeats that maintaining and pursuing nuclear weapons is a major, if not major, it's a main focus of the entire nation. So 40% drop in the currency value really doesn't stop them from doing that. And frankly, that's the only thing, that's the only end. And not only that, but we don't just need to stop them from creating a weapon, but we actually need to stop them from having the ability to even move slightly towards creating a weapon. And so sanctions, you're right, sanctions are a very good thing, but we need to have some indication that they're actually working before we can rule out military intervention.
Well, again, there are some actions that have been taken by the Obama administration that have actually certainly deterred Iran from taking on nuclear weapons. We've had covert computer viruses like Stuxnet, which we had in full cooperation with the State of Israel, I might add. We've made sure that some of their scientists have been neutralized, or at least we've worked with other countries to make sure that their scientists are neutralized. We've also actually, again, we've had this international coalition that does in fact not accept any sort of oil from Iran, which does take a toll internally and economically. If there are currency riots, why are you going to spend, as president of Iran, why are you going to spend money on these nuclear weapons?
Because you consider it a main objective of basically any of your policies. If you are willing to put that ahead of all of the other problems in your country, then if that's the only goal that you're pursuing, then it doesn't matter what else is going on. And furthermore, Stuxnet only succeeded in shutting down about a quarter of the centrifuges for a temporary period, and then its efficacy ceased after about a year. I mean,
Well, that was after, yes, the media leaked it. But nonetheless, look, if you look at the way the sanctions have been implemented, and you look at the way we've been dealing and sharing information with the State of Israel on Iran's nuclear threats, you will see, I think, that if at the very least Iran does get a nuclear weapon, then you're going to see some sort of unified response. And I think that that's the best case response for the worst case scenario.
yes, but by then we'll be able to deploy it.
Your response, and then we're going to move on to the next question.
I think, well, but by the time that they have one, it won't matter whether or not there's an international coalition against it. I mean, there are already not contracts, treaties that dictate policy in the international community as to how to deal with a country that